Nearing 1 year of the war in Ukraine, tonight we hear stories from Korean Ukrainians, as known as Koryoin, who have fled the conflict and sought sanctuary in the land of their forefathers. Our Choi Soo-hyung has the story.
Over the past 2 decades, Central Asians of Korean descent, known as Koryoin, have been making this neighborhood in Gwangju home. Most of them are descendants of Korean independence activists who moved to the Soviet Union during the Japanese occupation of Korea. With the outbreak of war in Ukraine last year, the village has also become a sanctuary for Ukrainians of Korean descent fleeing the conflict. From March last year, Koryoin village in Gwangju started raising funds for flight tickets to bring them to South Korea. This accelerated when the Justice Ministry simplified the visa issuance process for Koryoin. According to the village, they brought 875 people in total from Ukraine by February 12th this year. In the past year, they have been building a new life in Korea, just like their ancestors did in Eurasia around 100 years ago. Eleanor, who came in April last year, thought it was a miracle to live in the village.
I work as a staff member at the Center for the Village with support from representatives Shin Jo-ya and Lee Chun-young.
As the war in Ukraine shows no sign of ending, it is important that the Koryoin children get an education. Children walk toward their dreams by learning Korean at the village's Youth Culture Center.
I want to be a programmer. I like to program something.
However, they need formal documents like an academic transcript from their school in Ukraine to study at school in South Korea.
I hope both the government and the education office understand the current situation, and the school accepts children without documents like this.
Data from Gwangju YMCA legal support show that most of the Koryoin work as day laborers. That's because they only have temporary stay visas instead of refugee or overseas Korean visas. Every Monday, dozens of Koryoin visit the legal support center over working conditions and withheld wages due to the lack of proper employment contracts.
Unpaid wages take the most part of legal consultations and lease agreement issues after that. But I think the biggest problem is unpaid wages.
Living in this country, Koryoin still face many barriers, so they could use more practical help from private companies, civic groups, and government agencies. That would mark a historic new beginning for them at Koryoin village. Choi Soo-hyung, Arirang News, Gwangju.